Hello green shoppers! Welcome once again to my channel. This is Sir Job and welcome to Sir Job TV. Para sa lahat po ng mga new explorers tsaka newly discovered pa po sa aking channel, please don't forget to subscribe and click notification bell for you to be updated with my future videos. So para sa araw na ito, ipagpapatuloy natin ang discussion natin in the world of readings in Philippine history na kung saan diniscuss natin before sa ating previous video ang Encomienda system in the Philippines. So para sa araw na ito, ang topic natin for this morning is all about what are the three classifications of Encomienda. Come on, let us learn together. So good morning once again, Golden Shabbers. Nabanggit ko na po sa inyo kanina na ang pag-uusapan natin sa umagang ito is simply the continuation of our discussion from my previous video that talks about the Encomienda system here in the Philippines. So basically, kilalanin po natin ang tatlong classification ng system na ito that was introduced to us by the Spaniards. So basically, we have here in the Philippines the three kinds of Encomienda. Okay, na kung saan the first one is ang tinatawag nating royal or crown encomienda. Okay, second naman po nito is the ecclesiastical encomienda. The third one is the private encomienda. So, ano-ano nga ba ito at saan sila nakalocate sa bansang Pilipinas when the Spaniards divided the country Philippines, ladies and gentlemen? So, unahin po natin ang royal encomienda. So, pag sinabi nating royal encomienda, were lands reserved for the crown. Highlight natin ha. And included here were the principal towns, cities, and ports. Examples of this were Bagong Bayan, now Luneta, Lagyo, present site of Plaza Militar between Malati and Ermita, Santa Ana de Sapa, Tondo, Navotas, and Malabon in Manila, Lubao, and Betis in Pampanga. So, sa lahat ng mga Tagaluzon na nanonood sa video na ito, I'm sure you can relate with the places. Kasi kami dito sa Mindanao, of course, narinig namin ito, pero hindi kami masyadong familiar with the places. But if you could be able to observe this one, makikita mo that even today, you could be able to say na yung mga na-mention kong mga lugar, sila yung mga areas with advanced development that even before, during the Spanish era, develop na po ang mga lugar na ito. That is the reason why when the lands were divided, ibinigay ito or kinuha ito ng tinatawag nating mga royal encomiendas. Because basically, ang para sa kanila, lands were reserved for the crown. Yung mga principal towns, cities, and ports. Okay? That as I said to you, one of the manifestation is na-develop na po in advance, okay, ang mga lugar na ito sa Pilipinas. That is why, kinuha po ito ng mga royal encomienda. One manifestation also na maidagdag natin is since nangungulekta sila ng tribute, so malaking kita po dito sa royal encomienda. Diba? Kasi marami ang tao because develop nga siya as I said to you. So that's how you are going to take a look upon understanding the concept of royal encomienda in the first place. So now let's proceed to the second one, which is ang tinatawag natin the ecclesiastical encomiendas, were those given for the church. Klaro na po sa ating statement, ecclesiastical were those given for the church. Okay, remember, this encomienda also occupies big areas of land since church before was one of the income generating projects of the Spaniards. Diba paulit-ulit ko itong sinabi sa inyo na isa ito sa mga ginamit ng mga Spaniards in order for them to successfully subjugate the country Philippines, bringing that banner, of course. And long before, walang separation ang church at saka state, meaning to say, they could collect taxes or tribute in both houses. Okay, something like that. So, basically, malaki din po ang naging income ng mga Spaniards dito. Remember, we always have also to remember that religion is the opium of the masses. Meaning to say, once the doctrine is being introduced to the people, then therefore, because salvation po ang ating iniisip when we are talking of religion, so mas marami po sa ating mga masses or mass people, poor society will go into this kind, will be convinced in this kind of parang gusto maging part sa aspetong ito. Basically, okay? So today, kung makikita ninyo, you can observe how ideal those areas where Roman Catholic churches located, especially those old ones. Okay, maglibot-libot kayo, tingin kayo sa mga videos ng Pilipinas, you could always observe na maganda po ang location ng mga churches ng Roman Catholics here in the country. Why? Because of this particular concept, the ecclesiastical encomiendas. Kasi pag sinabi nating encomienda system, ito yung time na kung saan dinivide yung mga lupain. Na sa isang area na yan, there is one encomendero or there is encomendero na kung saan magkukontrol sa lahat or supervise sa lahat ng mga transaction na nangyayari sa lugar na yan. Yan ang konsepto. That is the reason why isa din sa mga naka-benefits is ang nandito sa mundo ng ecclesiastical encomiendas. Wherein, they also have a lot of inhabitants kasi nga sabi ko sa inyo kanina, religion is the opium of the masses. So marami po talaga ang member or part ng encomienda na ito. Meron talaga silang makukolekta. Okay, but as to the location, geographically speaking, we could also say na favorable din ito sa part ng mga Spaniards basically. So yon, the second one. Okay, let's proceed to the third one, which is ang private encomienda. Sino sila? Were granted to individuals who were either king's prodigies or men who served with merit during the conquest and pacification campaigns. Ito naman po yung mga nanggaling doon sa mga chieftain, mga datos, mga insulares, mga soldiers no, na tumulong in the pacification campaign para makontrol ang some of the areas in the country na binigyan sila ng karapatan ng authority ng Spanish government at napabilang sila sa tinatawag nating private encomiendas. Okay? These were granted to individual or private institutions like College of Santa Potenciana and San Juan de Dios Hospital. Grupo yan, okay? But for those individuals, for private individuals, there were Pandacan, Sampaloc, Macabebe, which was granted to Pedro de Chavez. Sa kanya po ibinigay ang mga places na ito. Bataan to San Juan Isguera and Batangas to Francisco Rodriguez. Okay? Pampanga was granted to Francisco Liwag and Juan de Macapagal. Okay? So, some of the encomenderos na na-mention ko sa inyo na sila ang nagmamaneuver ng mga places na na-mention ko rin sa inyo a while ago. So, this is how the example of how the land were divided before, no, para pamahalaan ng isang encomendero, ladies and gentlemen. So yun po. So that's how we have to classify the system encomienda in the country, yung tatlong classification, or that's how we have to characterize them basically. So when first implemented in Visayas, Legazpi authorized the encomendero to collect tribute to 8 reales, highlight natin yan, yearly in cash or in kind from all 19 to 60 years old Filipino males of private encomiendas. Okay, when you are part of the private encomiendas, so mangungulekta ngayon, okay, ang isang encomendero ng 8 reales amounting to 8 reales yearly. Okay, in cash or in kind. So if you could be able to recall yung ating discussion sa taxation without representation, na-introduce ko ito sa inyo na sa 1570s, they collected this amount, 8 reales lang po as tribute. So ito po yung manifestation niya. Okay? Ito po ang mandate, Governor General Miguel Lopez de Legazpi talking about the Visayas area in the implementation of the private encomiendas. So, if we're going to analyze the situation, how profitable this privilege to certain encomendero? Paano ito naging lucrative on the part of the private encomenderos, for example, talking about, okay? So this is how na nakakakuha sila ng certain amount doon sa kanilang collection. Because at the end of the day, at least 1/4 of the total collection went to encomendero, and then another portion to the priest, and the remaining to the government. Ito po ang hatian doon sa total collection na nakuha ng isang enkomendero sa enkomenda, okay, or sa kanyang enkomienda. So yun po ang situation. So 1/4 of the total collection. So let's say for example, i-convert na lang natin kasi ang real, 'di ba, sabi ko sa inyo, 1 real is equivalent to 12.5 centavos. Okay? Para mas madali nating maintindihan, let's convert the money into the peso as currency para mas madali nating makompute. Okay, let's say for example, si encomendero ay nakakuha ng 100 pesos as total collection. So 25% of that, okay, so meaning 25 pesos pupunta diretso sa isang encomendero. And the rest, paghahatian ng mga priest at ng government, Spanish government talking about. So that's how. So meaning to say, pag malaki ang kanyang na-collectang tribute, then therefore, there's also big amount na pupunta sa isang encomendero. So that is the reason why they want also na mas maraming inhabitants, no, maraming mga transactions sa kanilang lugar, because that is also lead to something na profitable on their part. So ganun ang konsepto. However, some encomenderos violated regulations by raising the rate of tribute paid in money or in kind by poor Filipinos. Ito po ang nangyari sa kanilang collection. 'Di ba, binigyan na siya ng 1/4, okay, doon sa kanyang total collection. Supposedly, may income na po si encomendero. However, towards the end of the story, inabuso po nila ang kanilang karapatan. So meaning to say, nakalagay dito, inangat nila yung mandated na amount ng Spanish government. Like for example, ang mandated sa kanila is 8 reales, ginawa nilang 10, may iba ng 15, 13, so iba't iba po ang kanilang implementation. So with profit motive in mind, kasi yun talaga ang thinking nila, encomenderos arbitrarily increase the value and appraisal of products at different periods. Kasi sa atin ngayon, we have DTI na kung saan nag-consolidate doon sa ating mga prices. Meron tayong suggested retail price sa ating mga products, okay? But before, kaya po itong i-manipulate ng isang encomendero. Pag sinabi niya na ito ang presyo sa produktong ito, nobody can debate to him on that kind of implementation. So that's how powerful it is ang encomendero sa kanyang lugar. The unscrupulous or unprincipled, meaning to say yung mga encomendero na wala akong pakialam kung ano yung sasabihin ninyo towards my implementation, among them made tremendous gains in temporarily hoarding staple items like rice and clothing materials and selling them at high rates later. So yan naman talaga konsepto ng tinatawag nating hoarding, because even today sa ating situation, may mga pagkakataon po na nag-hoarding po ang mga tao. Though, that's illegal in our situation today, but before kasi wala pang supervise ng ganun talaga, no? Because we are under with the colony of Spain. So that is the reason why yung mga pure-blooded Spaniards, they can control. Sige, itago natin ito, benta natin ito pag wala na yung product, pag maliit na lang yung product sa market, because in the economy, in the economic aspect, konsepto naman talaga, when there is a lot of supply in the market, meaning to say, mura po yung bilihin. But when the product is not scarce in the market, so mas mahal po ang kanyang presyo, because it is demanded by the people. Hinahanap po siya. So, ganun ang konsepto ng hoarding. So, nangyayari po yan even before. Yan ang ginagawa kasi gusto talaga nila na maka-profit sila in all transactions na ginagawa ng mga Filipinos. To evade or to escape penalties, and corporal inflictions, meaning to say yung hindi makapagbayad, and of course they don't want also to be punished by the Spanish government. Filipinos who could not afford either the monetary or specious payment fled to the hills, meaning to say nagpabundok sila, pumunta sila sa mga mountainous areas wherein they could not be found, okay, by this particular Spaniards or Encomendero, kasi habulin talaga sila, of course, no? So ang nangyari, takbo sila sa mga mountainous portions kasi sila naman yung mas nakakaalam sa pasikot-sikot dito sa Philippines. Those who escaped from the oppressive taxation were regarded by Spaniards as lawless, remontados, or tulisanes, or commonly mga bandits po ang tawag sa mga taong ito. Sa atin, sa present generation, meron pa rin mga ganitong version, mga anti-government people. Kasi long before, during colonization, I can say na justifiable po yung kanilang pag-disagree with the government, yung kanilang resistance towards the government. Kasi nga, hindi naman po justifiable yung implementation ng mga Spaniards in the country. So that is the reason why it is very inevitable talaga na makipag-fight ang mga Filipinos sa mga Spaniards. Sa ating generation today, wherein we are given already rights, no, and privileges, I think there's no reason for us to go against with the government, no? Kung justifiable naman. Pero sa panahon nila, mahirap po talaga. So, as a result, tinawag silang mga lawless, remontados, or tulisanes, or mga bandits ng mga Spanish government. So meaning to say, pinaghahanap po ang mga taong ito. So along the way of the implementation of Encomienda system, there was much confusion as a result of lack of systematic tribute collection. Kasi wala pong policy. Ang nangyayari po kasi dito sa lugar na to, 14 reales, 13 reales naman sa lugar na to, 10 reales sa lugar na yan. Dito naman sa amin, 8 reales lang collection kasi honest po ang aming encomendero. So something like that, nagkagulo. There was confusion happening on the parts of the Filipinos. Each encomendero collected according to his personal whim, okay, or fancy, sudden idea. Kung anong gusto ko, kung gusto kong lang ganito, so yan ang collection na gagawin. Yan ang amount na ipapataw ko. Kasi yun ang nangyari. So nagkaroon ng confusion ngayon on the parts of the Filipinos. Aside from hindi magkapareho ang kanilang collection or the amount of tribute na kinokollect nila sa kanilang people, may confusion na doon, di ba? Aside from that, ito pa ang mas malalang situation na nangyari. When gold was abundant and money was scarce, they demanded cash or reales. Ibig sabihin, kung marami po ang ginto, okay, and merong scarcity ng pera, ang kanilang ikokolekta ngayon is ang pera. Okay? So kung ano yung scarcity, kung ano yung wala sa lot, sa situation, sa period na yan, yun ang kanilang kukunin. Okay? On the other hand, when reales were plentiful and there was scarcity of gold, they asked for gold. So the same thing happened, no? Kung marami ang pera, salat po sila sa ginto, hinihingi po nila ngayon ang ginto. Yan ang nangyayari. Even when the poor Filipinos were coerced to buy them. So in order for them to give what they needed, like for example, kailangan ng ginto, tapos may scarcity ng ginto, then they will be forced, no, to look for other resources from neighboring places or mga distance area na talaga, na in order for them to find the resources and give it to the Spanish government. So yan po ang reality talking about encomienda system in the country. Aside from that, during bumper harvest or awesome good harvest, they demanded products like rice, tobacco, or even all of the Filipino possessions, and they were forced to travel great distances to try to buy them at high rates. Okay, just for them to have something to eat also. Kasi nga, almost anything na meron sila, kinukuha po ito ng Spanish government. Kasi nga, as I said to you, lumagpas na sila doon sa mandated ng Spanish government na kung saan ikukolekta nila to the Filipino people. Naabuso po ito ng mga Spaniards, talking about the collection of tribute at the end of the day. Okay? So, in order for them to survive, kasi kailangan nilang kumain, so ang ginagawa nila, they will be traveling to mga distant places in order for them to buy rice, for example. Kasi of course, kailangan naman lang kumain. So, mahal po ang presyo ng pagkabili nila doon, pero wala silang choice because all they need is to survive at a time. So, basically, yan po ang nangyari. Sometimes, the Filipinos bought back at very exorbitant prices the same items, like for example, rice, especially during lean or deficient harvest, they sold for a very low price. Okay, so at the end of the day, pag hindi naman maganda yung harvest nila, for example, so kailangan naman nilang bumili sa ibang bayan in order for them na may maibigay sila sa Spanish government. Okay, to some extent, ang mga presyong ito, pag ibinigay na nila sa Spanish government, mababa na po. Cheap na po ang price na ipinataw nito ng Spanish government. So just like what happened also in the Bandala system and tobacco monopoly, the same thing happens here sa ating discussion talking about the Encomienda system in the Philippines. So yun po ang mga situation. Let's continue. Encomendero sometimes seized the entire quantity of his rice from the Filipino. Kinukuha po nila lahat. Sometimes may mga ganitong situation na lahat po ng ani ng isang Filipino kinukuha po ng Spanish government. Talking about the encomendero at the end of the day, without leaving him a grain to eat. Yun ang sinabi ko kanina, wala na silang makain because kinuha lahat ng encomendero yung kanilang produce. Many Filipinos died of starvation, especially during famines and drought due to the scarcity of rice, and they were forced to eat coconut and banana shoots. Okay, yung ubod ng saging, yung coconut, yan na lang yung kinakain nila, no? Para lang mag-survive sila kasi nga kinuha lahat yung produce nila from their farm. For example, yung mga rice nila na naproproduce, kinukuha po ito lahat ng Spanish government. That's how difficult it is. If you could be able to imagine, siguro if you have time to read and reflect also some part sa kasaysayang ito ng Pilipinas, para mas lalo ninyong ma-feel yung emotion kung gaano po ka-difficult. Ito ang situation nila. They have no power to go against with the Spaniards kasi nga mas makapangyarihan sila during those period. So what they can do at the time is to follow really the command of the Spaniards, okay? Because if the Filipino resisted, they were publicly flagged, tortured, or jailed. Ito yung kanilang sasapitin if they will have to against with the implementation of the government. Yun ang nangyayari. This is how brutal the punishment that might be facing to a certain Filipino if he will not follow the command. So as a result, sumusunod talaga sila 100% to the command of the Spanish government kasi nga mas powerful sila at the time. These unjust collections of tributes was one of the causes of intermittent uprisings in the Philippines. If you could be able to remember, napakarami pong uprisings na nabuo sa bansang Pilipinas. Okay, revolts, mga uprisings in different places of the country, but as I said to you, lahat ng ito ay naging failure. Why? Because hindi po sila united in fighting against the colonizer. Meaning to say, they are fighting for a certain personal interest na natapakan ng Spanish government. So as a result, hindi po malakas ang kanilang puwersa. Okay, marami pong mga revolts na nabuo, mga uprisings because of this implementation, pero hindi po sila naging matagumpay because hindi po united ang puwersa ng mga Filipinos at the time. So basically, this is how what happened, no? Talking about the implementation of the Encomienda system in the Philippines, that as I said to you, yung series of discussion natin ngayon, ito yung mga economic impositions ng mga Spaniards in the country Philippines because they are always thinking to gain more profit, no? To drain the resources of the Philippines and of course, to become profitable while they are staying here in the country Philippines. And you have to imagine that one for 333 years. Okay, samot-saring implementations po ang kanilang ginawa sa bansang Pilipinas. So I hope that by listening with this video, you could be able to feel, no, in your heart, within your heart, those Filipinos who are watching right now. I hope that you could be able to feel the situation of our ancestors before, and by then you could be able to appreciate, to love your country, to support your country, and to ever protect your country from any other invaders that might come to us in this present generation. So that will be all for this morning. I hope you learned something from this video, and I hope to ever share this video to your friends and to anybody else that you think nangangailangan ng video na ito. Asahan niyo po that Sir Job TV will continue to discuss more meaningful discussions, especially in the world of social sciences. Thank you once again for watching. Bye-bye!